Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Big Ton Scotty's Choice. Hairspray is the next one. I don't know what you think, Scotty. Why? Why Hairspray? Why? You know, at at a glance, this movie is a goofy musical that people will probably turn their nose down to. At least I was one of those who back in the day when it came out. Other than the fact that Zac Efron was in it, I turned my nose down to it. Like, yeah, no, no. And then I saw Zac Efron's the Lady's Choice video. He was like, well, they used to play on like they had it on like I used to go on demand and look at the music stuff, and they had it on there like, what is Zac Efron Lady's Choice Hairspray? What is this? So I liked that song, but I wasn't really into the movie. And then one day I went over to Shopko. I was just looking around and I saw this. Now, you know what? Fine. I'll go get it. So, it's a remake. It's directed by Adam Shankman, who brought us, uh, um, I always want to call it Detroit Rock City. That's not what it is. Rock of Ages. Rock of Ages. And other movies, but, yeah. And it's set in the 1960s. It's about a young girl, a teenager, named Tracy Turnblad, who's a little overweight, of which I have some experience in that area. And she wishes to be the lead dancer on what's called the Corny Collins Show, this dancing show that records after school. We're going to get to the logistics of that in a minute, but because of how she looks, her size. Of course, this was back in the days of everyone had to look absolutely perfect to do anything. Like, you couldn't be fat, you couldn't have any blemishes on you, you couldn't be African American or Chinese or any other race other than white to do anything, because that was back when segregation was a thing. They even had some segregation stuff in this movie, and that's a big talking point. So at its surface, you look at it and you think silly musical, but there's a message to it. There's a message to it. It's one of those movies where you go in, okay, silly musical, and then once you go through the movie, it really just starts to hit you. Like, something I noticed is the first half of this movie, while having some of that message to it, it's very corny. It's very cheesy. And then once you get in to where they're really going into the, rights stuff and marching and all that stuff, then it really starts to get good. So, but yeah, the first half of this movie, I thought I was like, because I remember this being good, and I'm sitting there going, wow, did this go down for me? Because this is really cheesy. And then, like, halfway through the film, it changed. And it's just like, it's after that Big Blonde and Beautiful song, where she announces that, and I'm only saying it because they say it in the movie, Negro Day, which is the day where the African Americans can come on and dance on the show. It's once a month, once a week, but it's once a month, and they get to come up and dance. She announces it's canceled, and that's when they start. Oh, maybe you should march, and that's when the serious stuff really starts to hit. And for me, that's when the movie flipped the switch and got better, because now it wasn't just a silly musical like it was at the beginning. If they kept that tone throughout the film, I don't know how well this would have done, but because it hits that switch, I feel like it gets. There's still some goofiness and cheesiness in the movie. Don't get me wrong. We're supposed to be set in the '60s, so it's very cheesy, yes. But that's when the switch is hit and everything is flipped, whatever, and everything is just better, in my opinion. Now, I told you the synopsis, right? That she wants to be the dancer. But really, that whole thing about her wanting to be a dancer on the Corny Collins show, that's the first quarter of the movie. Because, her and her friend Penny, played by Amanda Bynes, they watch the Corny Collins show. They find out that one of the lead dancers is leading for 9 months. They don't even say she's pregnant. She's like, she's taking a leave of absence. How long are you going to be gone? And she's like, 9 months. Give me more than 9 months, because you don't just come back right after you have a baby. So it's more like a year if you think about it, because you have 9 months, you have the baby, and then sometimes it takes a little while to get back in there. You know what I mean? Like you can go back maybe a month later, but sometimes it takes longer, especially with that separation anxiety and stuff. Now, I'm not a woman. I've never been pregnant, but I've seen enough TV to know that some of that stuff, it's not just cut and dry. Baby's done. A couple weeks later, you're ready to go back to work. That's not how it works. Especially if you're a dancer, you're going to have to wait longer than just a couple weeks, But anyway, so she sees this as an opportunity to go in there and be a lead dancer, be a dancer, whatever. And, of her weight, her mom doesn't want her to do it. She doesn't have to skip school, that whole sort of thing. And she goes in and she's completely blasted by the station manager, Velma Von Tussle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays the role fantastic, by the way. But this song that she sings, I don't know why, but it's the most annoying song in the world, because how many times does she have to say Miss Baltimore Crabs? I understand that's the name of the song, but like every sentence, when I was Miss Baltimore Crabs, I'm just like, and like she implies she slept her way. She's like, but I screwed the judges to winning the contest anyway, so it wasn't fair. So that kind of tells you, oh, she's a cheater. She cheats. So that's gonna happen. And yeah, so she's kind of shunned. But then they have this sock hop, which Corny Collins is hosting. Of course, it's segregated. So first she comes back to school. She gets detention. That's where she meets Seaweed Stubbs. Yeah, his name is Seaweed. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Played by Elijah Kelly. And he teaches her some new dance moves in detention. And look, I'm not saying that this is racist, but why all the people in detention are African Americans? Was that the way things were back then? You got detention just because you were black? Because that's bullshit. I mean, I don't know, but I think half of the African American majority was in that room, of the school anyway, was in that room, and I'm just like, she walks in and they're all African American, and it's just like, but he teaches her how to dance, and then Link, who is the love interest. Okay, so before I continue, let's talk about the format of this show. So we see this, they go to school, they get done with school, and Tracy and Penny go back to her house to start watching the Corny Collins show, right? And I'm like, okay, so these kids don't go to high school. But it's revealed they do go to high school, because Link is like the popular guy in school. And then there is Velma's daughter, Amber Van Tussle. She also goes to school. She's dating Link. We do see later that they get to go early because of the dance thing. But here's the thing. During the song, they say it's 4 o'clock. School gets done at 3. Hell, I've had school gets done at like 2:45. So I went to schools that got done at 2:45. So why? It's really weird. But like they have to run home for this, and it's recorded live. You see, it's live. It's not recorded. It's actually filmed live. That is, to have a bunch of your stars be teenagers who go to school and recording, and not recording, but filming live. I mean, in the 1960s, it was more, it was more, we have to do this on the fly because, VHS tapes didn't exist back then, so we had to film it. What are they filming it to then? Film reel, maybe? I guess. It makes sense. But, well, if it's live, it's just cameras. They're not filming. So it means you couldn't go back and watch old episodes of this because it's live stuff. I mean, I guess it could be recorded live. I guess. That's why some of the old stuff like the Ed Sullivan shows are also, the way they look, they're so grainy. That's the word, grainy. Because back then, the quality stuff you could record with just wasn't, but It's during this dance thing that we meet Edna Turnblad, Tracy's mother, played by John Travolta. Yes, it's a man dressed as a woman. Uh, Nowadays, what they've done is they've incorporated, because in the original version of this, it was a drag queen named Divine. So now they've incorporated drag queens or homosexuals, gay people, to do it. Like Harvey Fierstein, who has the look to portray, but not the voice. I'm sorry, but you can't stop that. Yeah, no, sorry. Harvey Fierstein, a singer, you are not. You're a funny comedian, but funny stuff. I gotta call my mother. That's funny, but and Miss Doubtfire stuff. But singing, probably not your forte. No offense, but anyway, John Travolta is great in this movie. I'm sorry. You see this trailer and you think, oh, John Travolta dressed as a woman. No. But honestly, there are points in this movie you forget it's a man in a suit, because John Travolta disappears and Edna Turnblad is just in front of you. And what helps is that her husband, Wilbur, is played by Christopher Walken, and he does a great job of playing that husband role. Baby, no one can dance like you. He's great in that role. And yeah, he's great. And he owns this dollar store, prank store with all the, it's kind of like a Spencer's Gifts, really. You get all the joke stuff, a joke store maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Penny's mom is a religious zealot who shows up to get her stuff ironed, and they make a joke about personal stains. She said, well, I'm sure I don't know what you mean. And I'm just like, so she freak? Like, she's a religious zealot, but then in her secret time, she's a freak? I don't know. But she doesn't want, Penny goes to do this, and this after school, and Tracy told her mom not to say anything, but I was like, are you telling me that Penny's mom doesn't have permission to be here? Penny doesn't have permission for her mom to be here, and freak out and all that. And yeah, so, like I said, she dances at the sock hop. Courtney sees her, and right away she's put on the show. Right after the school, they put on the show. And it's like, okay, we're only a quarter way through this film. And she's achieved what she wanted. She's a dancer on a Courtney Collins show. Because that's not really what this movie is about. And I feel like the recent version of this, like they did a TV version, a Hairspray Live or whatever. And I've seen how that one ended. And I feel like that ending is the predictable ending. Oh, like this happens and that's how it should end. And I remember when I first watched this, I thought that's how it ends, but it's all too bit of a tied up in a bow ending, where it's a little bit that way here, but it works the way they do it. So, like I said, at some point in the movie, it hits a switch and it becomes like a march on unequal rights because they canceled Negro Day. Sorry. I don't know if that's offensive, and if it is, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend. But they canceled that day. And any word I try to put in there, they canceled that day, and so then it turned on its head. And you have other things in this film, like Tracy and Link are sort of a thing where they like each other, but she's fat, and he's popular. And he's sort of with Amber, but not really. But the more he spends time with Tracy, the more they like each other. And then you have Seaweed and Penny who like each other. But of course, there's that barrier. And her mother would never allow that. But, and talk about the show first. Corny, he's a fair man. He wants everyone to be able to dance together. But it's the station manager and their sponsor, the Hairspray company. Speaking of sponsors, my sponsor, I'm not doing that. I'd never do that. I'm not one of those who would just in the middle of a video or beginning of a video or anywhere in a video cut to a sponsor, because I think, while it's promoting stuff, I think it's rude. Okay? Like, it's already bad enough I hate to go on a tangent. It's already bad enough you're putting ads on your videos. Now you're gonna put a sponsor right in the middle. No, like, I understand what it's doing for you, but no, we're not clicking on your videos to watch sponsors. We're here to watch your content. And when you put out a 10-minute video, and 5 of that is a sponsor, what's the point? Right? I'm just saying. Now, no, I have no discourse. I have no hate for anyone who has sponsors. If you do what you got to do to put food on your family's table. But it's still annoying for us. I mean, I already made my piece about ads, right? I hate ads. I feel like they're gone too far. If you're gonna put ads on your video, it should be just at the beginning of your video, and nothing else for the rest. But the fact that there's like you're watching, let's go a 10-minute video, and there's 2 ads at the beginning, and then 2 more ads within the thing. Sometimes it's 2 ads and 2 ads. Like sometimes the video's almost over, and there's an ad, and it comes back, and okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you. I'm like, what was the point of having an ad there? What was the point of having an ad there? The video's almost over, you know. And then even after the video's done, another ad plays, and it's like, why? You know, skip, and then it just says play in the next video or something. I don't know. It's not even in the playlist. It's just a video played, and there's ad, and then you click skip ad, and then it comes up on the little screen thing, and this is video will play in 5 seconds or whatever. If you're gonna put ads on your video, 1 ad, please. I would be forgivable if it was 1 ad and a sponsor. That would be fine. I mean, I know you're sitting there, hey, just fast forward through the sponsor. I do, because I don't care. But it gets to the point where I want to watch a video, and they're like, they talk about what they're talking about in the video. And hey, before I get to that real quick, let's introduce the sponsor of this video. And I'm just like, no, I'm here to watch that. And another thing, I'm going off on a tangent with ads is sometimes you see something that looks intriguing. It's like, oh, let me just see what that's about. And you want to click to see something, just to see a little bit of it, see what it's about. But no, you have to wait through an ad just to see if you want to watch the whole video. It's annoying. And I'm going off on a tangent, and I'm so sorry. I'll get back to the movie review, I promise. But one more thing that really gets me. I forgot what it was. Damn it. Ads. You know, I forgot what it was. There was one more thing. I was hoping that it would come to me before I got to it, but no. What was it? Hold, please. This is not what I was going to talk about, but you ever notice that sometimes there are ads that are long? Sometimes you get like a whole... Like one time I got an ad, there was a whole episode of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Why? A whole 45-minute show. Why? I don't know. But anyway, I can't think of what I was going to say. There was one more thing I really wanted to talk about. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, back to the movie, right? So, where the hell was I? Sponsor. Hairspray sponsor, right. So, like, Corner really wants everything to be integrated, but of course, the big wigs don't want that, right? And by proxy, Amber also doesn't want that, which you do see at some point that there may be some, you know, she may not be all evil, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Anyway, at one point, like, everything just starts spiraling down for Tracy, because Tracy, she's dancing on the show. Jerry Stiller wants to sponsor her. Yeah, this is Welcome to the 60s song. But while this is happening, Velma sneaks over to Tracy's house, to where the dad's working, and tries to seduce him. But of course, he's only in love with Edna, so he doesn't see anything else. You know, he's one of those things where, I don't see another woman, I see you, the whole thing. But she's hitting on him. And so after the big, blonde, and beautiful song, they go home. And this is where they do it. Oh, we're going to march, and they're going to prepare. And Edna's like, you can't do it. And I'm going to go to bed. And I was like, she's like, oh, I'm going to go to bed too. But she really gets all gussied up to go flirt with her husband because she's in the mood now. And she walks in and, okay. So, first of all, Velma has tried and tried to flirt with him. And there's nothing. And then, when Edna walks in, she pulls him on top of her. She's like, oh, it's your wife. And Edna just believes this. And I'm like, no, Edna, if you pay attention, quite obviously she pulled him onto her. Nothing was happening. But, of course, she gets all mad. And she tells Tracy, you can't go on that show. You're done. And, yeah, basically that was her plan. But she talks with her dad. Her dad basically tells her to follow her heart. So she goes to the march. And at this march, they get stopped just right next to the studio. And this asshole cop, I'm sorry, but he is. She's like, no, you have to go home. You can't do this. You can't march. You have to go. And when Tracy tries to talk to him, he just turns the other way. She's like, hey, I'm talking to you. And she just sort of bops him with the sign. He's like, you just assaulted a police officer. She's like, I what? No. It was this. That doesn't hurt no one. She's like, hey, it's nothing. Nothing. I was like, okay, we're going to arrest all of you. What? And so she runs off, ends up going to Penny's house, which is not really smart, but, she ends up going to Penny's house. She can't go home because they'll find her there. That's where Link goes, to her house. We get, so she shows up to Penny's, and Penny takes her down to their spare room in the basement, which ends up being a bomb shelter, which Penny doesn't know what it's for. And I find it to be bullshit because they teach that stuff in school at that point, especially during the Cold War and stuff. They're like, no, we're gonna teach you about bomb stuff. And they somehow thought that going underneath the desk was going to protect you from a nuclear bomb. Didn't say they were smart back then. Some people still aren't smart now, but I don't know how much a bomb shelter would help either. It's supposed to be underground. It doesn't look like it's underground. Maybe it is. I don't know. But she's in there, and of course, her mother somehow figured out that she was there and locks Tracy in there. And then we get a song that I forgot was in the movie, but Without Love. It's a banger. It's a banger. I'm like, oh, this song. I remember this song. But yeah, it's basically Link and Tracy singing about love, and then there's also Penny and Seaweed, and basically this whole thing is that Link is singing in Tracy's room with a candy bar he found under the pillow, and he eats it at one point, I don't know, while Edna's making him pork. Yeah, just pork. Not any kind of pork, just pork. Anyway, because she's like, come on in, I'll make you some pork. He's like, I couldn't eat. Can't eat? Come in, I'll make you some pork. Like, by the way, Travolta's weird accent, out of my horn on. What is he trying to do here? Is there a Maryland accent that I'm not aware of that he's trying to do? I have my horn on. I'm like, what? I don't know what he's trying to do, but, So, yeah, and then while he's singing this part, Penny has been tied to her bed with a jump rope. Now, when you hear when she says, Penny, get a jump rope, and Penny goes, no, not the jump rope, you think, she's going to whip that girl. No, she ties her to the bed with it, and I forgot about my, she whip her? No, she ties her to the bed with the jump rope, like straps her to it, and Seaweed comes in and saves her with a switchblade, cuts her loose. And then Tracy gets out, and they drive off. And they go back to Maybelle's place, which, and then they decide to set up this plan. So this whole plan is to get Tracy into this dance-off. So they're having this dance-off, this Miss Hairspray pageant, right? Where the winner, apparently, is going to be the lead dancer on the Corny Collins show. Amber is a contestant in the pageant. She's only a dancer on the show. Now, she's not the lead dancer, but she kind of is, because they do the thing where everyone's announced and the last two are the big ones. So it's like, I'm Amber. and I'm Link. The whole thing, like Teen Beats movie does that. But it's like, yeah, just, I don't know. Like, shouldn't this have been for people who aren't already dancing on the show? Shouldn't have been a thing, I don't know. But, no. And they're doing this contest, and you see that. So, Edna sneaks in. Honestly, I don't know how this disguise works. She's wearing this big beige jacket and a wrap over her head and sunglasses, and she sneaks in, and I'm like, how does nobody? This is the most inconspicuous. This is the most conspicuous attire ever. Yet, no one sees her. She gets in, and so everyone else is sort of in on it, except for Link. Because at one point, Link we had to have that little breakup thing because Link didn't want to march because he's about, his image and he's already dancing on the show and he doesn't want to ruin that. So he doesn't go to the thing. But then that's when he shows up later at Tracy's place to try to make amends, but she's not there. And we see that Velma is rigging it so Amber can win. She's switching the ballads around. The ballots. Ballots. It's weird with the S. She's switching the ballots around so that Amber can win. And she's like way ahead. And even you see Corny's just like, he's not taking it. He doesn't win this shit. He's like, because he knows Amber's winning it. And then you get to the point. So, at one point, there's a sighting of Tracy outside. But it turns out it's Wilbur in a Tracy contest using. Okay, there's one point where she goes to visit him after he's kicked out of the house and he's sleeping in his shop on whoopee cushions. Fart joke. That one was me. Anyway, he's all dressed up as her. And then it was all a trick to get them locked out. This is a weird convoluted plan. So they're getting locked out. Okay, they're locked out so they can't interfere. No, they're locked out so they can grab this big can of hairspray and use it as a battering ram and smash through the door. Now we find out later that Tracy's in that can of hairspray and that's how she snuck in. Here's the issue. They could have grabbed anything and they just expected them that, we're going to use this heavy can of hairspray. And even Velma's like, heavy? It's hollow. That you let her in and then they're once again locked in for doing the thing. And so you kind of see her sneaking around. And Amber's about to be announced as Miss Hairspray. And this is what starts the final song. This 15-minute sequence. I swear, I looked at the clock before this. It was 20 minutes left. I looked at the displays, the runtime. It was 20 minutes left. And about 5 minutes to do this thing with, I think. So it's 15 minutes that we do this last song, You Can't Stop the Beat, which I don't think was in the original. But, this is the song. This is the song from the movie, from the play, whatever that you watch. This is the song. You can't stop the beat. And it's Tracy comes down in the big can of hairspray and said Amber Van Tussle is about to get out danced. And he's like, hey, Tracy Turnblad. And then so they dance and she's singing. And then Link joins her. I like how Amber's loving up to him. Link, he's like, no. And he goes to dance with Tracy. And so they start to dance. She's like, and she falls into the can of hairspray. They lift her up. And then she tries to climb out. She falls back down. How she didn't break anything, I don't know. But, and Tracy's like, I love you, Link. And he's like, not for long. He brings Inez, who I hadn't mentioned till then, is Seaweed's brother, Miss Maybell, which I haven't mentioned her either. Miss Maybell is she was the co-host for That Day, and she's the one who leads the march, and she's Inez and Seaweed's mother. Those names. I'm not judging, but weird names. Just saying. But anyway, brings Inez. She was upset that day was canceled because she was practicing her dance move. She's probably going to get on there, and now she's not able to. Now she's out there. She's dancing, right? She's dancing in front of everyone, and because Link brought her up on the stage, and so then they tally the votes. Oh, Penny is of course afraid to be on camera because her mother might be watching, which that's a contradiction because she even says that her Penny would not be caught watching that stuff, and she's at home watching it. That doesn't make any sense. Who wrote that? That doesn't make any sense. She's criticizing people. She's criticizing Edna for letting Tracy watch the Corny Collins show, and she's just, maybe it's the only thing that's on TV. I don't know. Listen to the music. She has to be watching it so that she sees Penny and she falls on her ass. That's the whole reason why she's watching it, because we need that reaction. Because Penny doesn't want to go on stage, and her and Seaweed start singing their part of the song, and it ends up with her bringing her on stage, and then Link, Inez, and Tracy start dancing behind them, and then it's really weird because she says, "I'm now a checkerboard chick," and she looks directly into the camera, and then they kiss, and then when Corny pops up behind him and says, "That TV, there's nothing like it," she looks at the camera like she's shocked, and I'm like, you just looked straight at the camera when you said, "I'm now a checkerboard chick." She did just like that, and she runs off, and he's like, and so they tally the votes, and the winner is Inez Stubbs. Yes, Inez wins. And the first time I watched it, I was like, no, Tracy should win. That's the whole point, right? That's not the point. It's not the point. And other versions of this don't get the point, apparently. So Inez wins, right? And, Edna exposes Velma, for cheating, as Velma tells Amber, "You couldn't have lost because I rigged the ballots. Smile, Miss Crabmeat." A great shot, don't you think? Yeah. And so then she gets fired, which she's the station manager, just got a sponsor. Can he fire her? I don't know how that works. One thing I can say is, we're dropping your show. I think you can fire her from the show. I don't know. But then Edna gets up on stage and starts dancing. We get John Travolta singing, And then it's Mabel's turn. I love how Velma goes up. She's like, "Corny, you have to stop this. This show is turning into Gumball." He's like, "No chance, Velma. This is the future." And, bring them all up on stage. Oh, everyone is congregating. There is a point where Amber flirts with one of the African American guys. She's dancing. She's like, and then they dance a little bit. But then that goes away, and you just see them in the background. And I'm like, okay, what was the point of her making it look like she was going to accept it, and then just... I think with Amber, she's supposed to be conflicted, where she knows what her mother wants her to be and doesn't want to change. And I like the fact that she doesn't change. We need some villains in this. And that brings me to what I don't like about the live version. Because in that version, it becomes a little too cookie cutter. In that version, Tracy wins, and the Tracy wins, and the Von Tussles just join them at the end singing the song. And like, no. That's too happy, hunky-dory finish. And it would make no sense. Now, I hadn't seen the whole thing. I'd just seen the performance of this song. But it would make no so much sense with the way that Velma has acted. Maybe she acts different in the live version, but the way she's connived and cheated her way, for her to just, okay, and then just dance, it's like, no. And speaking in being realistic here, real world stuff, if someone has that mindset where someone who's different should never fit in, they're not going to change it on a dime like that. Now, obviously, Amber might be a little bit conflicted, but, who knows? But yeah, and the movie ends with Link and Tracy finally kissing, and Inez gets her crown, and it ends, and it's a good movie, but like I said, there is an inconsistency because the first half of this movie is really cheesy, and then when it gets to the serious stuff, it flips the switch and it is good. So by definition, this movie, Hairspray, is a middle of the road movie. By that definition alone, by what I just said, it's a middle of the road movie. So it sits firmly in the middle of the road for me. So What are your thoughts on Hairspray? Let me comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't need to flip a coin, roll the dice, because the final one we're talking about is not another teen movie. I cannot wait to talk about this movie, because damn, that shit is whack. So, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.